Gus, coming to you from the treehouse. I just want to share with you a grief counseling tool that we developed a few years ago when we were working with hospice, doing children's grieving workshops. Everybody loses somebody close to them at some point, but everybody needs to talk about the person that they've lost. But we don't always have a good format for doing that. One of the tools that we devised, I call remembrance cards. They are 20 cards with images on one side and questions on the other side. Each of these cards has a question that is a prompt for you to talk about the person that you've lost. This is best done with another person or in a group of people who share a common loss or maybe have lost different people. Each person can talk about the person that they've lost. In my case today, the person that I've lost is my friend Dennis. He's a guy that I grew up in childhood with in the neighborhood. And I'm gonna just draw a card that maybe one of the images reminds me of Dennis in some way. And it's best to have a person to speak to, but you're my person in this case. So, all right, we're drawing this card, and our question is, how I feel when I think of the person I've lost is I feel a lot of different things when I think of Dennis. Surprisingly often it's a happy feeling. He was one that always made us laugh. Let's try another question. What makes me think of Dennis? I don't think it necessarily has to be any particular thing. The other day I was out running, and I just had a memory out of the blue of different times that we played sports together. And Dennis was always a big guy. You would not think that he would be able to move fast. But we played basketball. He had an incredible outside shot, but he could also drive into the paint and do some damage on you too. He was always surprising me, and he had a way of moving. Let's see. Mr. Bear. A funny story about them. Oh my goodness. We must collectively have a million funny stories about Den. I can't think of one of them right now. One of the funny stories I can tell about Dennis is he was, I would say, a good-natured trickster often. And one time I left my camera where we were all hanging out together. I went out for a little while, and I also left a stuffed animal that was very precious to me, and the guys thought that was funny, I guess. Anyway, so I don't know if this was Dennis's idea, but they took the animal and they took my camera, and they shot about 8 or 10 pictures of them with the animal in, he was in a blender with somebody's finger on the blend button. They didn't harm the animal, but I think there was one with him in the microwave. And so I came back, and This is back in the days when cameras had film, and you had to go get it developed. So I got the roll, and they never said anything about it that day. I took the camera film to get it developed, and there's these like 10 shots of these guys um, putting my animal in harm's way. So, haha. Mr. Tiger. The question is, what were they like? If I was to just ramble off the top of my head trying to capture the essence of Dennis, um, he had a certain way of, he had certain phrases and cool figures of speech and inside jokes and one-liners that he would deliver in a certain voice. He had this badass voice, this deep, resonant, funny, badass voice. And when he would say things, yeah, he would drop his one-liners or his figures of speech, and he was funny. The guy was super funny. I guess he had a deep and serious side also. He was fiercely competitive at everything and formidable at everything.